Claudine Hemingway is a descendant of famed writer Ernest Hemingway. We bumped into each other at a party and decided to team up and dive deep into French history, but with a twist, by bringing a spotlight to those lesser known creatives in France. This is History with a Hemingway.
So, welcome back to Paris History Avec Hemingway. And today we are talking about a place that I go almost every day to take pictures, Trocadero. It's a very popular viewpoint of the Eiffel Tower. So, I'm basically just going from Montmartre to Trocadero every day, Eiffel Tower back to Montmartre. And it's very interesting for me to hear the history of my office. I like to call it my office because that's where I take pictures of tourists every day. So, we'll let Claudine take it from there, tell us all about the Eiffel Tower and the Trocadero Plaza.
I know you probably spend more time there than you do at your home in Montmartre.
I do.
Especially nowadays that everybody's back in Paris.
Yeah.
But this is some people, this is an area some people would say maybe they would completely avoid just because it is so busy with tourists. But you shouldn't, because it is actually, there's some really great stuff. And maybe just go early in the morning and then you'd probably catch Crystal there too.
You'll definitely see me there. And early in the morning, there's an amazing sunrise view from there.
Yeah, it's a great view, and it's also pretty quiet. If you go mid-afternoon all the way until late at night, because it's a great place to catch the Eiffel Tower sparkling, it's packed with a lot of people.
Yeah, mornings are empty. Go in the morning.
Yeah, and hang on to your stuff when you go.
Yeah, for sure.
So originally, this area, the Esplanade de Trocadero, it's now the Esplanade des Droits de l'Homme, of human rights. Right there in the Trocadero itself, they actually are talking about the Madame Hidalgo, the mayor of Paris, is actually talking about changing a bunch of it in regards to the Olympics coming. So that whole area behind you, when you're looking at the Eiffel Tower, where the cars turn around, where it's crazy, they're talking about taking all of that out and making it all green space.
Yeah, all the way down to the Eiffel Tower. She's going to make the bridge to the park too. They're going to close the
bridge. Yeah, which a lot of people, of course, aren't too thrilled about, because it is, there is the other side of that which I didn't realize until like Willy Montpompier, is like, every time they close all these things out, it just makes it drives all the traffic into another way. And so like when the fire was on Notre Dame, it was really difficult for them to even get to the fire because all of the cars are smushed into, these just few causeways.
Yeah, I think that's how they're trying to force people into not driving anymore, but in fact, they're just making traffic insane.
Yeah. So I guess that's the other side of it. But anyway, it would be, excuse me, it would be pretty cool to go there and just see that all as one big open park, but you probably can't sit on the grass.
Yeah, knowing France, you can't touch the grass.
Excuse me. So right there at the Trocadero, so when you go there, you could now in the morning, you could look at this. There's the 8 golden statues added in 1937. And it was 4 on each side. Hang on just a second. Now he'll probably have to edit that out. Sorry. So on either side, we'll start again. On either side, the 8 golden statues added in 1937. Were all by different artists. On the north, you have La Campagne, La Jeunesse, Flore, and Le Matin. And on the south, you have Les Oiseaux, Le Jardinier, Printemps, and Les Fouilles. They really need some sparkling up a little, because they were looking pretty drab the last time I saw them.
This is true.
They're not very shiny and gold. As you walk up the steps, there's a big plaque in the marble that was dedicated by Francois Mitterrand, changing the name to the human rights in October 17th of 1987. There are 2 different museums there. On the left, you have one of my favorite, the Cité de l'Architecture. It was created on the basis of the Musée des Monuments Français that was originally created by one of my favorites, Alexandre Lenoir, who was the man who saved during the Revolution so many of the monuments and tombs from destruction. In 1879, another gentleman that saved another beloved place, the Notre Dame Cathedral, Viollet-le-Duc, he was the one who really spearheaded to recreate the museum, which is fantastic. Inside of it right now, they have the 16 statues that have been completely restored that at one time stood on the top of Notre Dame, that were saved 4 days before the fire by some sort of miraculous intervention, they decided to take those off the roof 4 days before the fire to have them restored. They are completely cleaned up now. They're all, instead of like patinaed green color, they're all like dark brown.
Mhm.
I liked them the green color. But go to this museum and go see them, because it is the only time in your life that you are going to be able to see them this close, because once the construction is done, they will go back up onto the roof and you cannot ever get this close to them again.
Oh, wow. That's good to know.
And the museum is one of my favorites. You go in there and there's pieces and molds from monuments all over France and churches. It's really, really cool, and nobody goes there.
Yeah, it's empty. Both are empty. It's the Museum of Man and the Museum of Marine.
Yeah. Yeah, so on the other side is the Musée de l'Homme, which was established in 1937. The Palais de Chaillot was built here in 1937 for the exhibition. The collection has gathered over time, including parts of the royal collection. And some of that stuff is now at the Quai Branly Museum that is just across the way, down from the Eiffel Tower. The current palace, as I said, was built for the 1937 exhibition, but before that, it had a little bit more interesting history. When Napoleon had his son on March 20th, 1811, and he named him the King of Rome, he was going to have a palace built on the hill of Chaillot there for him. It would have two palaces. There'd be one on either side of the river. Pierre Fontaine designed what he thought was going to be one of his most beautiful pieces he ever did. It was going to be built on the former site of the convent that was destroyed during the Revolution, that had been there since the 17th century. Work never started on it. Napoleon had to abdicate his throne, and so all plans were abandoned and never seen.
Would have been crazy to see that be built.
Yeah, it would have been pretty cool. In the mid 18th century, they were going to build an ark and move an obelisk there. It was proposed for the tomb of Napoleon, but as we know now, that is not where he went to. In 1867, the Chaillot would finally see its moment to shine. A Neo-Byzantine and Moorish structure by Gabriel Davio and Jules Bordet was built for the 1878 World's Fair. You could go online and you could find drawings of what this building looked like, and it was pretty amazing. But of course, none of that, the building that we saw, remains today. It was one Parisian journalist named Toichot called it a fly on a soup tureen, because it was round in shape and it had these Moorish features on it, and so they thought it looked like a fly on a soup tureen. As much of the exhibition structure was created, it was not created to last. It lasted for about 60 years, and then it was destroyed for the current palais to be built. Part of the original foundation of that one from the 19th century, from the World's Fair, was retained. You could see it kind of, if you're back, if you go down below it and look up towards the Trocadero, you could see some of the bases of the bottom and some of the glass. But the building itself was really, really cool, and there's some really neat images you could see. I'll put one on my website. But of course, on the Trocadero, and I'm sure you think about this every morning when you're there, is the moment that the little jerk Hitler came to Paris.
Yeah, very famous picture of him.
Very famous picture. On June 23rd, 1940, he came to town at 5:30 a.m. It would be his first and only visit that he came to Paris for, thank God. He came to that morning. He wanted to visit. There were some very specific places he wanted to see. He wanted to go, and he went inside the Opera Garnier. He wanted to see the Eiffel Tower. He went to go see Napoleon's tomb. He also went up to Sacré-Cœur, but he wanted to go up to the Eiffel Tower, go inside. But the men working on the Eiffel Tower decided they did not want that little jerk up on the Eiffel Tower, so they cut the cords, the cables to the elevators.
Oh my gosh.
So he did not get up there, but there is a very famous image of him standing at the Trocadero, looking back at the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, one of the most famous. I never knew they blocked him from going up the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah. Yeah, and at one point there was a Nazi flag on top of the Eiffel Tower.
Wow.
But yeah, they cut all of the cables so that he couldn't go up there.
That's wild.
But he did say, one of the things was, he thought that Paris was beautiful, which is a lot of the reason why it was saved from the destruction that like London and all these other cities had. But his goal was to make Linz even more beautiful than Paris. And so he wanted Paris to stand so then they could look back, they could look towards Liszt at seeing like, oh, now we're just a shadow in comparison.
Ha!
The joke was on him.
So you.
Yeah. You go walk down through the garden. In the garden, there is a bust of a gentleman named Paul Valéry. He was a French author and a poet and a national treasure. His writings were inscribed on the facade of the Palais de Chaillot. In 1900, he married Jean Gobillard, who was the cousin of Julie Manet, who was the daughter of your favorite name, Berthe Morisot.
Ah, one big circle.
They were married the same day. He got married the same day as his cousin Julie Manet in a double wedding ceremony, which is straight out of the Brady Bunch when I was a kid. I remember they had a double wedding on the Brady Bunch, and I thought when I get married someday, I want a double wedding with my best friend. No way. They were married in the Saint-Honoré de Laon, which is over in the 16th, which is also where Hemingway married Pauline. Paul and his wife lived in the same house as Julie Manet's parents that they had built that was on the Rue de Villejuif, which is now named after him, the Rue Paul Verlet, which is nearby. Upon his death in 1945, a huge state funeral was held. It began at the Trocadero on July 25th, 1945. The bust of him was done by René Vautier and has been up there since it was placed in there in 1975 on the 30th anniversary of his death.
I'm learning so much about my office.
I know you've got, between this and Montmartre, you're an expert now.
Yeah.
There in that little park over there, if you're looking towards the Eiffel Tower, there's the park over towards the right. Go over there. And if you have a minute in between clients, go walk over there because it's kind of some of my favorite stuff is over there. There are pieces of the original Hotel de Ville that are over there, as well as the Tuileries. Built between 1535, the neo-Renaissance home to the mayor of Paris, the Hotel de Ville, was destroyed during the Bloody Week of the Commune on May 24th, 1871. It burned for days and it destroyed inside the ceilings and the paintings that were done by Ingres and my favorite Delacroix, as well as all the archives of the city. There's pieces of it throughout. There's a few pieces. There's a piece in the Parc Monceau, which we're going to talk about in a couple of weeks. There is the piece that is here. There's a few pieces of the Tuileries because and the Hotel de Ville because it was completely destroyed. Nothing. The Hotel de Ville you see today in Paris, which we're also going to talk about soon. It is the entire design of it is based on that original 16th century building, but it's more contemporary.
Yeah.
But I do love to go and find it. The pieces that are from the Tuileries still have the burn marks on it.
What?
Yeah,
That's
pretty cool.
Crazy.
Yeah, so statues, there's quite a few statues near the fountains of the Trocadero as well. There's the L'Homme et la Femme that are looking towards each other. Those are done by Daniel Basquet. There's a bull and a deer by Paul Jouvet. Horse and a dog by Georges Guillot. On the right side, there is La Joie de Vivre by Léon Ernest Drivier. It was carved from one giant piece of stone.
Wow.
That is down towards when you get closer to the side of the road. It could possibly be one of the seven muses of Zeus, which I always love that story because of Xanadu, the greatest movie, and and on the right side is one that La Journée, which is done by Pierre Poisson, and they're really really cool, and they are just from one huge block of stone.
I always go by those to take pictures of people, and then I'm like, wow, everyone's super naked here.
Yeah. They don't want super naked people in their background.
Not really.
It's better than sometimes when you find the street people in the fountain super naked.
Yeah, they go swim in there a lot. I saw them in there last week.
Yeah, I have taken clients on walks, and then we're like, okay, and we're going to keep walking. There is a bridge that we talked about that they were turning into a park at some point here in the next year or so. That is the Pont de l'Ena. It has statues on either side, and look up at these statues when you go there the next time because they are really cool. On the right bank side, they are there's the Arab warrior done by Jean-Jacques Fréchier and the Greek warrior by Francois Devaux. Look at these guys; they are really handsome.
They're really giant.
They're really giant and really handsome. This bridge was built under Napoleon. It was one of four that he had created to link the military school, which is just at the other end. It was designed by Cornel Lamont. The five-arch bridge, of course, was marked with eagles of the emperor, but they were later replaced with L's for Louis Philippe, or Louis the 18th. He decided to rid all of Paris of any marker of or any reminder of Napoleon. So the N were removed and changed into L's, with the oak and laurel wreaths. When Napoleon's ashes were returned to Paris in 1840 under Louis Philippe, the eagles were once again returned to the bridge, and then designed by Antoine Louis Barye, who was good friends with Delacroix. Of course, Delacroix comes into every episode. The four horsemen were added in 1853, and on the other end of the bridge towards the Eiffel Tower is a Gaelic warrior by Auguste Préau and a Roman warrior by Joseph Dumas.
Gosh, I didn't know they were so special.
They are, of course they are. But it is interesting because it's Gaelic, Roman, Arab, and Greek. So it also, because the military, it's on the way to the military school. And then the Chaillot was under Napoleon. He wanted that to be, the home for his son, who was the king of Rome. So when you kind of know all those things, having the warriors of Gaelic, Roman, Arab, and Greek all makes sense.
Yeah, I didn't know make the military connection either. It's fascinating.
Yeah, nothing's done by accident in Paris.
No.
Of course, now we see the Grand Dame of Paris, the Eiffel Tower. In June of 1884, two gentlemen named Émile Nougy and Maurice Coucon were engineers. They were working for a guy named Gustave Eiffel. They had plans for a tower that was placed on four pillars, but Gustave Eiffel wasn't so impressed with it. So he asked architect Stephen Sauvé to fancy it up. It was one of 107 entries for a contest to build a structure for the 1889 World's Fair, which was going to be the 100th anniversary of the Revolution.
Oh, wow.
So when everybody thinks that Gustave Eiffel designed it, nope, not exactly.
Yeah.
On January 8th, 1887, Eiffel and his company's 300-meter tower, as it was called, was selected. Eiffel put up much of his own money to have it built, and that's kind of partly why they decided to select it, along with a 1.5 million franc grant. He also obtained a 20-year right to all of the tickets that were sold on it.
That was smart.
You're very smart. I know when I was thinking about this, I was like, I wonder how much that is now.
A lot.
Yeah. On January 28th, 1887, the digging began, going 36 feet into the ground until they found stable rock because they were so close to the river. Now we see these beautiful, stone caves that go along the river, but it used to just be sand that sloped right into it. So they had to go down really far to find stable rock to build such a huge structure on it. Much of the structure was created off-site at his factory in Levallois-Perret. By 326 workers. They would send down the river pieces that were then riveted together up on site. It took 2 years, 2 months, and 5 days to complete, which is amazing when you consider how long it takes things to be done in Paris.
Yeah, 2 years. Wow.
2 years. It's made of what is called puddle iron. It's a fibrous iron that when it is created and then melded together, it is actually it's a lot stronger. It was done with 2.5 million rivets. Only 1 million of those were actually put in place on site.
Whoa.
Yeah. Considering how big this job was and how high it went, nobody died during the construction. There was one death, but he wasn't attributed to the construction of it. It was some Yoko who decided to climb up on top of it. On May 6, 1889, it opened to the public. In 6 months, Eiffel made all of his money back. Wow. To cover all of the cost of the building. There was no elevator. People had to climb up to the top. It was 1,700 steps to get to the top. And when you got there, you were given a commemorative cane.
Wait, people could walk all the way to the top?
It was the only way to get there.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. And 1,700, I think if I would need the cane at the bottom.
Yeah. Wow.
There's no way. Could you imagine 1,700 steps? And can you imagine going from the second floor to the top floor? Could you imagine Sometimes when you get to the top floor, it is so incredibly windy.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine trying to walk up there. And that's where, like, the top of it, it was just that circular, like going from the second floor to the top, it was just that circular staircase
Yeah, that's wild.
because it was little. And that's where he had his apartment. And so he had an apartment up there. Could you imagine? Like, what if you needed something? Got to go down and get
Did he
milk.
actually
I'd be like,
spend any time up there?
I mean, now it's got like creepy mannequins in it, which I can't stand those mannequins, but they have creepy mannequins in there. So it was kind of like his office.
Yeah, I doubt he spent much time up there.
No, probably not. No. In 1893, after Gustave was embroiled in this Panama Canal scandal, he stepped away and focused on his scientific ways to keep the tower up because it was only supposed to be up for 20 years. In 1898, a radio tower was added, and it reached all the way up. The signal could reach to the Pantheon. By 1908, it reached all the way to the United States. And in June 1889, Gustav added the hydraulics that would raise up and added the elevator. The elevators that we see today are still the same elevators.
No way.
I know, isn't that cool? At 10 to 12 on the 15th of May, 1889, at last he updated that the system was now in works and you could get up to the Eiffel Tower in the elevator.
That is crazy. It's the same elevators. Wow.
The same elevator. It's the same hydraulic system. I was really, really lucky one time to be able to go on a behind the scenes Eiffel Tower, and I got to go down into the basement to see how the whole hydraulics work. And it's done with like water and oil. And then there's also, if you go out the Champ Mars, there is, and they took me down, and you would never even know this was there, down this, into this, through the bushes, into this, open this door, and you go down below. And that is where that all the scientific research would go on, because they added all these radio towers and everything at the top. And then it also had a version of all of the paint colors that the Eiffel Tower has been. And originally it was red.
It was red.
Yeah. And I think they need to bring back the red.
Oh gosh, that'll look terrible for my photo sessions.
Yeah. Well, it was like a brick red. And so right now they are repainting it, and it's supposed to be a gold color, but everybody thought, oh, it's gold because of the Olympics. It's not like shiny gold. It's not like the statues at the Trocadero. It's like a brownish muted gold.
Yeah, I'm already starting to see it, and it just looks, like you said, like a muted gold. It's more brown.
Yeah, it's not going to be like sparkling.
No.
Unfortunately. I mean, that'd be awesome.
Definitely.
Right. One of the really cool things that if you're up on the Eiffel Tower, or if you're there in the winter, it's a little easier to see. Near the West Pier, there is a chimney, and this chimney was built in 1887 at the same time as they were building it, and they used it to help disperse the steam and the smoke that was coming from as they dug all these parts below. But they still left it there, and it's really cool because you could spot it, especially in the winter, or if you're up on the tower itself. Otherwise, it kind of just like hides away.
What, really?
Yeah, it's really cool. As I mentioned about the colors, they, to repaint the Eiffel Tower, and they have to do it every few years. It costs 3.4 million euros, and it takes 25 people. They do 2 coats of primer and 2 coats of paint. So, and they can't spray it. They have to hand paint it because you can't spray it up that high. The paint would just fly all over the place. And so they have to go up there and strip it. And it just was recently said that it probably is going to have to be, they're going to have to figure out something to do, because they've done this process so many times. And as you keep stripping this, it's making the iron weaker and weaker.
Oh gosh, it's going to fall down.
Not what you want to hear if you go up on top of
No.
it. But they've talked about, like, they're going to have to figure out to do something, and they do replace pieces of it. There is one, I watched this documentary in French that was just one gentleman, and his whole job is to just keep checking, they did with scientific, they keep checking all of the pieces of the iron. They will sometimes come in the middle of the night after it closes and replace pieces of it. So they might have to do that over time, but if they had to do a big thing like that, they'd have to close it, and that would not go over well.
I'll say they'd lose millions.
It is the most visited paid attraction in France, of course. Next to Notre Dame was the most visited place in Paris and it was free. Yeah. So then after that, you have the Eiffel Tower, and because there's just thousands of people go and see it every single day.
Wow, I believe it.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. There are the lights on it, of course. One of the most amazing things of it is at night when it lights up. It was added for the millennium. Um, they decided to make it a bit of a lighthouse and light it all up as Gustave Eiffel originally had wanted.
Ah, that's what he always wanted.
Over 100 years ago, he wanted it to light up. 20,000 twinkling lights were added. People loved it so much they decided to keep it, and so it flashes every night on the hour after sunset for 5 minutes. It goes until I think it is 1 a.m. I think is the last time it
Yeah,
flashes.
it's 1 a.m.
Yeah, 1 a.m. What really sucks though is if you were there in the summer and it doesn't get dark until 11 o'clock at night, you don't have very often to
Yeah,
see
you don't
it.
get many sparkles.
No, I've had people say like I went there at 9 o'clock and I did. It's like it has to be dark. But it is actually really, really cool that they light it all up. And it is. I stayed in an apartment that looked at that at the window at it, and it was pretty cool. Around the base of it is a big question I always have when I take clients over there is what are all those names on there? Those are all, there's 72 names that go around the first level. They are all scientists, mathematicians, photographers, doctors, everybody that's kind of related to, discovery. During the first, the renovation, the painters decided to paint over them, but then they were added back in
They painted
1986.
over them.
They painted over them, who would do that? Like, hey, what's this writing up here? Let's get rid of it.
Yeah, so funny.
I'm sure it didn't mean anything.
Not important.
But right below it, of course, is the Champ de Mars. It was named for the Roman god of war, which is Mars. It was here on the 1 year of the anniversary of the Bastille on July 14th, 1790. A huge party was held and a procession for the 14th of July, which then is why that's why they celebrate the 14th of July. Lots of wine and lots of naked people were there. The La Fête Nationale was then born, but it was also the site of a huge massacre
Oh gosh.
going back to medieval times, which is probably why it was given the title of Mars, which is the god of war. At the very end of it, there used to be a really cool thing called the Wall of Peace. It went up there for the year 2000, which is what we just talked about last week. And it was it just came down, I think it was in 2020. Because they built the temporary Grand Palais there because the Grand Palais is getting renovated for the Olympics. So they built a temporary one. They supposedly moved the Wall of Peace to another location, but I still haven't seen, they haven't done it yet.
I think they need to trash that thing. It was falling down.
It was like they put that fence around it and then they just let all the weeds and everything go wild. It did not look good
No, someone
in
broke the
2019.
glass, and it was bad.
I know, but it was so sweet. I mean, you could get some really cool pictures when it wasn't falling apart from the back because you'd have it was two clear panels of glass, and then the inside, the middle of it was empty. So you'd get this image of the Eiffel Tower if you lined it up just perfectly, and then it had peace written in all these different languages.
Yeah, it was nice for a minute until somebody broke it.
Till somebody broke it. At the very end of that, as we talked about as the École Militaire, it was built under Louis XV, and it was partially financed by the Madame de Pompadour. It was built from 1751 to 1780, and it would be the elite school of the members of the military. Napoleon would attend. There are stables there, the Saint Louis Chapel, the Salon de Marchaux. During the Revolution, they ended up getting in there and destroyed a lot of it. There is even a office there, and inside this office, it was the office of the highest member of the military that oversaw the school. In his office, and you can still see it today, and this is only open on that third weekend in September, my favorite weekend of the entire year, Patrimoine. You could go in there, and there is still a bullet hole in the mirror that happened during the Revolution.
That's wild.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. It is really neat. They have the stables and they do little horse shows and everything like that. But it looks back, of course, at the Eiffel Tower, which was at one point, of course, the tallest building in the world. That didn't last very long. But Mark, did you know that it got 20 feet higher?
No, how?
They added another radio tower to the top. So it is now over 1,000 feet tall.
It's funny because I was doing my dishes and I can see it from my kitchen, the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
And I saw a helicopter bringing something to the top of it. And I was like, what the heck? Helicopters aren't allowed to get that close to that.
Yeah, it was March 15th that they added this extra 20 feet onto the top of it.
Yeah, I watched them drop it on there. I'm like, what the heck is that?
Yeah, kind of crazy.
Yeah, really cool. Well, guys, make sure you listen to this podcast when you visit Trocadero and the Eiffel Tower, and check out Claudine's website.
Thanks for listening today, guys. If you're interested in learning more about Claudine, her tours, history, and the beautiful photographs that she posts all over Instagram, tune into her website, claudinehemingway.com.